Welcome back. Today we're going to continue our journey into HTML and CSS3 by learning how to format text using both HTML and CSS. But before I do, I want to introduce you to a tool that's built into Visual Studio Code. This has nothing to do with HTML or CSS. But one of the reasons why I told you to use this code editor called Visual Studio Code is because it has some pretty nifty tools that allow you to do things a little bit more efficiently. So here we go. Let's go ahead and start a new file over here. And let's call this text.html. Okay, now text.html over here. Now here's the thing. If you want to very quickly do some formatting in this HTML file over here, Visual Studio Code has a tool called Emmet. That's spelled E-M-M-E-T. It used to be called Zen Coding, but now they changed the name. Anyway, doc type HTML. Let's go ahead and show you how to use Emmet. Now, Emmet basically looks like this. It's basically a way of short forming your text, and Emmet will just fill in the blanks. Like for example, if you want a tag called HTML, you just type in HTML like that, and inside HTML you can basically put an arrow symbol, or rather a greater than symbol, and say inside the HTML tag I would like to have a head and a body tag. Okay, and just by doing that, just typing that short form, if you press tab after that, Emmet will basically do the rest. Pretty nifty, huh? I'll introduce you to more features on Emmet and other tools that you have inside Visual Studio Code to make your life a little bit easier. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. We wanted to do some text over here. Up until this point, you've already learned about headers. So you got like headers level 1 through level 6. There are only 6 levels of headers. This is a header. Okay. And you know what? I'm going to use Emmet to fill in the other 6 just to make life a little bit easier. So I want a H2 and a H3 and a H4 and a H5 and of course a H6, right? And if you want to put some text inside these tags over here, yes, you can just leave it like that. But if you say, let's say inside the H2, I would like to have the content, this is a header level 2. You just put the curly braces after the name of the tag. So for example, inside the H3, I would like to have this is a header level this is 3. There you go. Okay, I'm just going to leave the rest the way it is, and then I'm going to press tab. Watch this. Oops, excuse me. What happened there? Okay, there you go. I'm going to press tab, and Emmet basically will fill in the blanks for you. Okay, sorry for that little mishap. So there you go. Emmet basically allows you to do things a lot faster, and you get to code a lot more efficiently. Hey, when you're actually getting into your new career as coders, you need to take every shortcut you can find. Okay, so I'm going to save this file, and let's take a look at this. Oh, let me just finish this, yeah? I'm going to copy that. Hold on a second. Control C, Control V. This is 4. This is 5. And this is 6. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to save this, and let's take a look at this headers level 1 through 6 over here. Where's my file? It's on the desktop. As you can see, that's our HTML CSS folder that we created on lesson 1. And let's go ahead and open up text.html in the browser. So again, you can right click and open with, and you can specify which browser to use, Firefox, Chrome, or IE. Or since mine is already defaulted to Chrome, if I double click this, it will open up in Chrome, and there you have it, all the 6 header levels. There are only 6. There's no H7, H8, or any of those, only up to H6. Okay, so that's one way of formatting text over here. Now, in the case of footers, remember we were talking about footers over here. Let's say, for example, a H6 over here. I want to make that a footer in my page. So how can I do that? An example of basically I want to do a copyright, copyright Tiki Shibuden, just like that, right? And I want to put the copyright symbol over here. I can, this is kind of like the old method of doing things. But remember I told you about entities? Well, guess what? I can actually put entities for copyright symbols. Remember how to do an entity? It starts with an ampersand, followed by the entity code. Again, just basically go, the code for copyright is copy, and then followed by a semicolon to end the statement. And just by doing that, in fact, I don't want that space over there. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to leave the space there just so you can see what happens, yeah? And this is what it is. Keep your eye on the level 6 because that's where we put it. I'm gonna pump up the size a little bit so you can see it a little better. Okay, I'm going to refresh and ta-da! As you can see, there's the copyright symbol right there. But there's a space, Tiki. Can I get rid of that space? Yes, of course. That semicolon is basically the end of the entity, so you can actually put whatever text you want behind it. Okay, and let's say you want to put more. Are there more entities? Oh, there are plenty. For example, today's temperature is roughly about 38 degrees Celsius. Okay, so I want to put the degrees symbol right there between the 38 and the C. So again, I use an entity to do just that. So I say ampersand, and the code for it is DEG. Semicolon, and there you go. Ta-da! Hold on a second. Let me refresh that. There you go. 38 degrees Celsius. Pretty simple stuff. Then, let's say I want to put. You can use entities for many different symbols. I mean, there's even a symbol for, let's say, for example, I want to say my bank account balance is, and then I'm going to say, let's say $0. I mean, for the dollar symbol, it's pretty simple. It's on the keyboard. But let's say I want to use, the yen symbol, right? The Japanese yen. Well, then again, here we go. Entities to the rescue. So I say yen, semicolon, and what I get is this. Ta-da! It's now the yen symbol. If I want the British pound, for example, then the code is not yen, it's, you guessed it, pound. So if I use pound, keep your eye over here. Ta-da! And of course, there's also euro over here. Go for it. Go nuts. In all cases, this is not very far from the truth. That is almost my actual bank account balance. I'm accepting donations. So anywho, that is, you know what? We should start thinking positive. My bank account balance is... Okay, that should be fine. Yeah, there you go. That looks a lot better. We shouldn't put, you should visualize what number you want to see in your bank account, right? So anywho, that is essentially how you use entities and also headers. What else have we learned? We also learned that we can actually segregate paragraphs by using the paragraph tag. You've seen that already. So let's say, for example, I'm going to basically do some lorem ipsum over here. In case you're wondering how I did that, hold on a second. Let me just do that again one more time. Yeah, hold on a second. So here's another tool that's very useful in Visual Studio Code. Now it has autocomplete. Now autocomplete allows you to do this. Anytime you want to insert some dummy text, maybe you want to put a lot of text in there so that you can actually see the values happen, just to see where the placement is. You can actually use dummy text called lorem ipsum. And here's how it works. You just type in the word lorem, just like that, and you press tab. Ta-da! And Visual Studio Code will basically fill in the blanks for you. And what you get is this. So from a simple header, you now have something that looks a little bit more, at least it has a little bit more meat. Do I want to translate this page? Nope. Okay, so next up, how do we basically format the text over here? I mean, let's say, for example, I would like to justify, or I would like to left align, right align. How do I do the alignments? Well, for that, we need the help of CSS. Any tag can use CSS. So for in the case of this paragraph over here, I have three choices. I can either do it here inline, or I can do it in the head, which will only apply for this page, or I can do it on an external file. Now I'm going to do the external file just so you get more practice at it. Again, let's go into styles over here, and let's go ahead and create a new file. Let's call this file text styles, textstyles.css. Okay, there you go. Now in this text styles over here, I'm going to create a new text class. Remember how when we put a dot over there, we can follow it up with a name of some sort. This is just to identify the style. So I'm going to call this center dash align. You can call it whatever you want. It's just the name. In fact, you know what? Let's be a little bit safer. I'm just going to call it center align. And center align starts like this. Remember, it doesn't matter where you put the starting of the curly brace, whether it's here or here, it's the same thing. Okay, so center align. How do I align the text to the center? I'm going to basically use a property, a CSS property called text-align. Now, text align basically allows you to put text left or right or center. Remember, it's an American spelling, so it's T-E-R, not T-R-E. Or we can actually just put justify. Okay? Now, let's say I want to do, let's say, center align. So I say center, semicolon, save it, and now I would like to apply this style to this page. Do you remember how to do that? Again, it's in the head. I put a link tag, and inside this link tag I have, remember, href. Where is the location of my style? The style is actually located inside the folder called styles, and inside that folder I have a file called, where is it? Text styles.css. That's the name of the file. And remember, the link tag actually had a second attribute. What was it? The name of the second attribute was rel, short for relationship. What is the relationship of this link? The relationship of this link is, it's a style sheet. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye now. Okay? So, we've linked the style. Great. Now how do we apply the style, Tiki? Well, remember, the style actually had a class in there, right? Center align. I want to apply that center align to this paragraph. Do you remember how to do that? Precisely. It's the attribute called class. Okay? And the attribute called class, basically the name of the class. And here it was called center align. When we apply it, remember, no dot. Okay, and this is just a name. You could have called it anything. In fact, just to prove it to you, I'm going to call this monkey. Just to show you that you can name it whatever you want. So when you apply it, you just say you want to apply the class called monkey. Okay, save it, run it, and here we go. I'm going to refresh this. Keep your eye on the paragraph, this lorem ipsum over here. Ta-da! It is now center aligned. Brilliant. Okay, moving along. Let's say I would like to have, certain words appear in bold, for example. How do I do bold or italicize or anything of the sort? Well, there's a few ways to do this. Let's say, for example, I want to make that lorem ipsum over there. I want to bold it. Well, guess what? There's a tag for bolding. If you want to bold something, you just say B, and of course close B to mark where it starts and where it ends. So this basically means that lorem ipsum, only lorem ipsum, will be bolded. The rest of the words will be the same, will be regular. And if you take a look at it, this is what we get. Keep your eye on this lorem ipsum right here. Refresh. Ta-da! As you can see, this only these two words are bold. Now let's say I want to italicize a word. Let's say this lorem ipsum, not only do I want to bold it, I want to italicize it. So I can basically use an I tag right there. So I can say I, and remember, if I open it, I have to close it. Now be careful, because I opened B first and then open I need to close the I first before closing the B. Remember, tags have to be properly nested. Okay, so I'm going to save it, refresh, keep your eye here again on the lorem ipsum, and now not only is it bolded, it is also now italicized. Tiki, do I have to put the bold first before italicize? No, in fact you can put italics and then bold. And remember, they're exclusive from one another, so it means you can use just the italics without bold, or the bold without italics. It's the same thing. Okay, so you've learned a little bit more about how to format the text. There's just one more thing I have to show you, and that is font families. Let's say, for example, I want to apply a particular font to something over here. Let's say, for example, this H3 right here. I want it to be of a particular font. Well, here we go. Let's say, for example, I create inside my CSS file, I create a H3 style over there. And I say all H3s have a font family, okay? And essentially, I can list down a whole bunch of fonts. Like, for example, I would like to basically put Arial as the first one. And then the second one, I'm going to say, let's say, Comic Sans. I'm not even sure that's how you spell it, but okay. And the third one is Verdana. What the heck does this mean? Well, what this means is for the H3, okay, it's going to try to find, it's basically going to display it in Arial at first, if it can find Arial on that computer. So remember, all these pages are going to be viewed on various machines. Like, for example, you know, the person viewing your web page could be viewing it on a Linux machine. Now, Linux machines do not have as Arial font. In fact, Arial font is basically a Microsoft font. Okay, in fact, some Mac machines don't even have Arial. So what it's going to try to do is, it's going to try to look for this Arial font. If it cannot find it, it will try this font. If that font is not installed on the computer, on the target machine, it's going to try this font. If it cannot find any of the fonts listed, it will just default to whatever the system font is. So because I've said that all H3s are going to try to be Arial first, then Comic Sans, then Verdana, it's going to try to find those in order. So let's take a look. That's my H3 right there. Keep your eye on it. I'm going to refresh the page. Notice this is now a different font. So a question that you might have is, well, Tiki, if that's the case, I mean, wouldn't that be kind of dangerous? Because, you know, I need to make my websites a bit more universal. Haha. Well, the folks who designed CSS came up with a new version of CSS called CSS3, and they thought of a solution for this. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how you can guarantee that a particular font will be used. And in order for me to show you this, I need to go and take a look. Well, basically, let's go ahead and find the font first, yeah? So let's go ahead, and this is my favorite go-to site for looking for new fonts. We go to www.fonts squirrel squirrel font font squirrel, sorry, not squirrel fonts, fontsquirrel.com. So here we are at fontsquirrel.com, and let's go ahead and pick something. Oh, this looks like an interesting site, right? Sorry, interesting font. Let's try something that's not offside though, so we can just. Oh, here we go. This looks pretty obvious if we were to change it. So I'm going to grab this Alex Brush font over here. So I'm going to download the OTF or TTF or whatever it may be. I'm going to download it to the desktop over here. There you go. And let's open it up. So there's my Alex Brush right there. It's a zip file. So as you can see there, hey, there's the file I'm looking for. It's the Alex Brush regular TTF file. I'm going to copy that file. Let's go ahead and copy it. And I'm going to dump it in this HTML CSS file over here. Right? So the folder. This is the folder that we created for our website, and as you can see, all our files right there. I'm going to put a new folder in there. So right click and specify a new folder, and I'm going to call this the fonts folder. Okay, and I'm going to dump that font inside this folder right here. So I'm going to double click to go in, right click, paste it, and I'm going to rename it a bit because this seems a little bit long. So I'm just going to call it Alex Brush. Yeah, that'll be fine. Okay, so I've renamed the file to alexbrush.ttf. Okay, now that that's done, let's go back to our Visual Studio Code, as you can see over here. And as you can see, that's our font folder right there with the alexbrush.ttf inside. Okay, so now let's go ahead and show you how you can add that font to your website. We're going to use this rule over here. This is a new rule in CSS3, and the name of the rule is font face. Okay, now font face basically is a rule, and it only requires two things to be put in over here. You can add some more later on, like font size and things like that, but here you can actually specify, you just got to give this font face a name. So I'm just going to specify that this has a font family, and let's give this font a name so we can refer to it later on. Let's give this font, you can name it anything. Let's call this Tiki. Just to, so you know that you can name it whatever you want. And then all we need to do is just specify where this file is, where this font is. So I just have to specify the source for this font face is located at, and here's the thing. In CSS, whenever you want to specify a location, you use this function. I'll come into more details as to what other functions there are. But in CSS, you have a function called URL, Universal Resource Locator. And it just needs to know where is the location of this file. So inside the brackets over here, we'll put a pair of quotation marks right there. And we'll say, I need to specify this file over here. Now here's the thing. Notice where the location of my CSS file is. This file, the text file.css, is actually located inside the styles folder. And the fonts folder, where the Alex Brush TTF file is located, is in a sibling folder. So what I need to do is, I'm here. I need to travel to here. So what I need to do is, I need to get out of this, this folder and come back down in this folder. So here's how we do it. When you want to specify a relationship like that, first is we need to move up one level. So we say ... / means move up one level. So now we are in the HTML CSS folder. That's the parent folder for the styles folder, right? And then from there, I want to move down into fonts. Okay, so it's like making a U-turn, precisely. And inside the fonts folder, I have the Alex Brush.ttf. Okay, so there you have it. If I'm going to save this, I'm just going to save that right there. Now, when I want to use it, let's say I want to use it on this H3 over here. You know what? I'm just going to keep that there just so you can have it as a reference. I'm going to do a new one. This is a rule for all H4s instead. And all H4s, I'm going to say, I'm going to use the font family called Tiki. like that, Tiki? Yeah. So now what's going to happen is this H4 is going to use the Alex brush font over there. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to refresh the screen over here. Sorry, where's my text.html? Keep your eye on this. I'm going to refresh, and this is what we get. Ta-da! There you go. It's now using the same font. This is how you can guarantee that people will be getting a consistent text with whatever with your website. So that's it for this video. I got more upcoming videos on text. I got a part 2 for this because there's still some more I have not told you. So we'll stop it right here, and I'll see you in the next video.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe. Also, check out the links below. And if you'd like me to cover something else, please leave a comment down below.